So tonight's film was a Netflix watch, and this is from one of my favorite directors, Gillian Armstrong. She is from Australia. She's done many great films, including my favorite film of all time, which is the 1994 version of Little Women. It is the best movie. I love it so much. Um, on Netflix, they have Little Women right now, so if you've never seen it, stop and go watch it because it's my favorite movie of all time. But they also have her film, The Last Days of Chez Nous, which is from 1992. So it came out, this film I think that came out just before Little Women. And it's written by Helen Garner, who also wrote Two Friends, which is a film from the 80s directed by Jane Campion, which you can watch on Filmstruck. Check out Two Friends, or if you don't have Filmstruck, you should have Filmstruck, but also you can get it on DVD from Milestone Films, which Milestone Films is an amazing distribution company, and they restore and put out all the best films. Um, and so the plot of The Last Days of Chez Nous is kind of inspired by a real life incident in Helen Garner's life where her second husband, who was French and living in Australia with her, had an affair with her younger sister. That never ends well. So that was the sort of kernel of an idea that turned into, or not even a kernel of an idea, that was the incident in her life that turned into this film. She says it's loosely based on that. So basically, like, the only things that are the same, supposedly, are sisters, French man, affair. That's the plot of this film. It stars Lisa Harrow as the main character, the oldest sister named Beth. Her teenage daughter is played by Miranda Otto. You'll remember her from The Lord of the Rings, but she's also the only woman in The Thin Red Line. And Kerry Fox is the younger sister. Kerry Fox is so good. She's in An Angel at My Table. She's in Bright Star. She's in Shallow Grave. Whenever she shows up in a movie, you know she's going to kill it. And then the Frenchman is played by Bruno Ganz, who I believe is actually German. No, Swiss. What? I thought he was German this whole time. He's Swiss. Okay. Well, you'll recognize Bruno Ganz from Wings of Desire. Now, if you have not heard or seen any of the films I've just mentioned, you should also watch all of them. So today's review comes with a syllabus because all of these people are in all of these movies. Also, last reference before I talk about the film, The Last Days of Chez Nous was produced by Jan Chapman. Jan Chapman, once upon a time, was married to Philip Noyce. He did like Dead Calm and The Bone Collector, etc., etc. They met in film school. He went off his own way. She went off and produced some of the greatest films directed by women that have ever come out of the world, including several Gillian Armstrong films, several Jane Campion films, including Bright Star and The Piano, as well as, I was going to look this up, oh my God, Shirley Barrett's, where did Jan Chapman just go? Oh my God. There we go. Shirley Barrett's Love Serenade, which is another strange Miranda Otto film that won the Camera d'Or at the Cannes Film Festival a few years back. Okay, Jan Chapman also produced The Babadook, Somersault, which I still have not seen, but launched Abby Cornish, who was one of my favorite actresses. She produced Two Friends. She did a lot of television in Australia. Jan Chapman is great. So this brings us back to The Last Days of Chez Nous. So in it, you get introduced to Kerry Fox's character Vicky first. You see her as she enters this house. She's just come back. You later find from living in Italy for a while. There's this beautiful, huge cake that says "Welcome Home" on it that clearly her sister has made for her. Without waiting to find anybody because they're not home yet, she just takes a slice of the cake and just eats it while walking around the house looking at all the things that she hasn't seen in years. And it is such a great character introduction because you know that this is a selfish person who, like, appreciates that this cake was clearly made for her, but it doesn't appreciate it enough to wait until she can eat it with the family. There's another, wait, I was going to say another moment, but so then, you know, you get the family dynamics with the daughter and the sister and their husband, and you find out that like they got married solely because he needed like a green card basically, and one of the through lines in the film is him getting his citizenship and how it doesn't really mean anything to him, and so you're part of like, why are you even in Australia? I found that interesting, and probably had a lot more to say to Australians than me watching a film that's now 25 years old about Australia. Um, the oh yeah, there's another subplot where the Beth character is trying to sort of reconnect with her father. They have issues, so they go off on a trip to the outback, and much like in California, there's borders in Australia where you have to check your fruit or get rid of your fruit because of fruit flies. Like anywhere on the California border, you'll have to stop. We call it the bug station. And either get rid of your fruit or say if you have any fruit or basically does not have fruit. And there's this moment where they stop and the dad is like, we'll just hide it. And she's like, no, we're going to look like idiots for some oranges. And he's like, okay, fine, we're going to have to eat it. And so then there's this little, great little interlude where they're just consuming all these oranges. I just loved that little moment. So, obviously, while they're away on this tour, or on this vacation, things get sort of messed up in the home as the sister, played by Kerry Fox, is recuperating from having an abortion, and she's dealing with the ramifications of thinking maybe she terminated her pregnancy too soon, thinking maybe she didn't actually think through it fast enough, and it's kind of an interesting moment, I think, because the sister, when this happens, is very like, here's why you would get an abortion, here's why you'd keep a kid, where do you feel on this? And the Kerry Fox character felt like she knew how she felt, but she didn't, and she did probably react a little rash, but she's a character who does everything without actually thinking through, which is an important thing to note, because then later, when this affair begins with her brother-in-law, you're like, here is you reacting again, doing something without actually thinking it through and the ramifications of what it's going to mean to you. So while I think some people might interpret the abortion plot one way, I really think it's more about less about like being anti-abortion and more about being like, make sure you know what you're doing before you do things. And then obviously then everything falls apart when she gets back from the outback and discovers this affair. And it has a really great ending, I think, because I'm going to spoil it a little bit. You see the Kerry Fox character really kind of realizing maybe she reacted a little rashly because now she's kind of lost her sister. You see the Bruno Ganz character being the selfish dude that he is. They're both incredibly selfish people, entranced by the youth of this character, and you've kind of gotten little moments throughout the film where you realize he's done this before with other women and she's put up with it, but now that it's her sister, she's like not putting up with it anymore. And it's gonna be a while before he realizes that like he lost a good woman. And then the last moment you get with Beth, and she's looking at this spire that she's looked at for all the years that she's lived in this house, and she's never visited it. And she just, she just gets this beautiful smile on her face, and off she goes. And then it pans from her walking off up to the spire, and you realize she's finally going to go and look at it. Because earlier in the film, like one of the first things she talks about is how she'd always wanted to know what was connected to the spire, but she'd never gone. And every time she went there, by the time she got downstairs, she forgot what she was planning to do. And it's a lovely moment about sort of clearing out all these things that are causing drama in your life, and focusing on yourself in a very not selfish way. Because there's a difference between being selfish and practicing self-care. And I think the one sister is continually selfish, and the other sister neglected her self-care. And that's where they both end up at the end of the film, with just desserts in both ways of being. And a lovely teenage performance from Miranda, Otto. It's nice to see her young. So I've kind of spoiled the movie a little bit, sorry. You can watch it on Netflix. I think it's delightful. I really, really enjoyed it. I think Gillian Armstrong is just such a strong director, and is always drawn to screenplays that feature very complex, complicated, interesting, realistic women. And I've yet to see a performance in an Armstrong film and a character in an Armstrong film that didn't feel true and real. And I just love that. I really hope someday her film High Tide gets out of oblivion because it's another just utterly brilliant film from a few years before this one. So this is Gillian Armstrong's The Last Days of Chez Nous. It is from 1982. You can currently watch it on Netflix, and I highly recommend it.